Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here at the Movement Podcast. Before we dive into today's episode, we want to ask you to keep the conversation going. Please feel free to drop a comment or smash the like button. If you really like what you hear today, feel free to share the link on any of your social media platforms so your friends and family can get a chance to jump in as well. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know you will.
This leads us into a good segment because we've talked about it, brought it up, spankings. The idea of either right in the moment, quick, the idea of prepping it, talking through it. I want to first get what is your, and I don't even know, what would they call it, physical punishment. What's your concept there? What's your opinion?
Yeah. So I'd say first, that's never the first option that we want to jump straight to.
Sure. And do you think some parents use that too often,
I think some
too
people
much?
jump too fast to it. Sure. I think some people take it, I think often it can be taken to an extreme where they're getting out frustrations of their day on kids, and it is transitioning to an abuse. So first, let me clarify, child abuse is 100% wrong all the time, and there is a very fine line between what is abusive and what is correction.
Sure. I like what you said there. Getting after your kid for doing some of the behavior is not an excuse for you to relieve yourself of that frustration, whether it's pointed at them or is because you had a bad conversation with a boss or anything like that.
The spanking can't be harder because your boss yelled at you.
Right. So as a parent, when I'm preparing to discipline my child, do I need to take a step back and make sure that I'm in the right
100%.
Okay.
You need to make sure that you are in the right mind frame to see, okay, is this, and this goes back to the consistency thing. You know, is this something that I'm spanking just because I'm frustrated and mad? Or is this something that, no, this is something that we have consistently done. We've talked over, we've told her that she needs to pick her toys off of the stairs. They're still on the stairs. We had a long sit down, still not happening. Now we've got to progress the punishment.
And you said earlier, and I think we all know this, you're disciplining your child different because they're different. So do you have, like Kinsey and Creighton, and hopefully they don't ever see this, or I hope my daughters don't.
It'll be 3D like by the time that
we'll be robots. What do you like? The difference in them, just use them as an example.
Yeah.
Does one of them take spankings worse, better, indifferent? What
Sure.
happens
So Kinsey, she actually, words of affirmation is her love language. So with her, she gets a lot fewer spankings than Creighton does. Creighton, spankings are more effective because touch is his love language. So the opposite of their love language is also going to be the way that you can most effectively.
So you can sit down with Kinsey and be like, I'm very disappointed.
I'm
you
so
hurt Daddy's feelings.
And instantly, her face transitions.
Which leads to the change.
The change.
That you
exactly.
want.
I know, and I'm not changing. I'm still going to affirm her and do different things, but I know words of affirmation is her love language. The opposite of it is I need to express my disappointment. Words mean something to my child. They have value to her. Creighton, he is the biggest kid, but he is a teddy bear. He wants to cuddle. He wants to snuggle up in your arms. He's all about touch. He wants to be close. So as soon as we threaten the spanking, that's a bad touch that he does not enjoy the moment when a spanking comes. But we know that spanking for him is going to have, Kinsey, I can spank and literally doesn't even faze her. You're like, oh my goodness, that's hardcore.
She's like, is that it?
Come on, is that the best you got?
Okay.
But if I told her I was disappointed in her, oh my goodness, that's game over for her. Creighton, the threat of the spanking is often more important than the spanking. And then when we do the spanking, you see the change.
Tell me that. What's the conversation before? If there is a conversation during and after, what your discipline technique, which is spanking for Creighton.
Sure. So let's just pick a situation. Let's say
Creighton got into the pantry, ate 6 sleeves of Oreos,
and
polished it off by putting peanut butter all over his face.
Yesterday. Got it.
Okay, got it.
So first, Lindsay and I, has this happened before? Is this something that is a first time kind of thing, or has this been a repetitive, oh no, he also did that the day before.
Yeah.
Because again, the punishment, it can escalate if the same behavior is continuing. We want something that's going to prevent them from continuing to do that.
To get that change.
So let's say it's the first time he's ever crawled in, ate all the Oreos, and made a big mess like that. We'll sit him down first, and we literally, oh no, Creighton, I am so, why would you have done this? Now Kenzie won't have any Oreos. Now it's a mess. Creighton, you're going to have to clean this up. And then we have a timeout step.
Yeah.
And so he literally has to go and sit on this timeout. We have an Alexa, and so we'll Alexa 2 minutes. And
so you let him know what his actions, what the effect of on other people, the actions that he decided to take.
Absolutely.
I think that's so huge. I think letting kids know what they did, how it affected the people around them, because they're so centrally focused, which is key for them, because if they're not focused on themselves, they run into stuff, they don't take care of themselves, they don't know when they use the potty, all that kind of stuff. They're so centrally focused that they have no observational cues as to how what am I doing affects other people, especially when they have selfish motives or desires like, I want a cookie, I want peanut butter. So I love the fact that you started with, now Kenzie doesn't get any. Mm-hmm. And I know, because I know you guys, a big part of y'all is sharing. He shares, sometimes reluctantly, stuff with me all the time. And so that's a big thing, is letting him know, hey, here's how your actions affected those that you love and people around you.
Mm-hmm. So we'll sit him down. He'll sit in timeout afterwards. So we had the conversation before, then we sit him down in timeout. Then after timeout, why did we have you sit down? I made a mess. Exactly. Do we make messes in our house? No. That's right. We can't. We've got to be good with the things that God's given us. We can't throw cookies. Yeah. Now Kenzie won't have enough. Now you won't be able to have a cookie tonight, because we in a case like that, we probably would extend that punishment to that next level. You won't be able to have a cookie tonight because you had it.
Reinforces, yeah.
Let's say he does it again the next day.
Okay.
Next day, he jumps in and he takes the cookies again. At that point, we're going to come in with a spanking. Why? Because obviously the talking didn't work.
Gotcha.
In that situation, I talked to that kid multiple times, and it did not have an effect. So we're going to escalate the punishment.
Based on what hits him the hardest, and not physically, but the thing that gets a hold of his heart, because you already said his teddy bear touches his thing. So for him, that would be it. Same scenario, different kid, Kenzie.
Yeah.
What happens there?
So Kenzie, and hers, it'll often be some snide comments. Yes. Hers will be more attitude kind of thing, of a little eye roll or something like that, where you're like, you're 5, you're rolling your eyes at your parents.
How did you learn that much sass?
How are you embarrassed by us so much now?
That's you, Lindsay, just so you know. That's you. Yeah,
attitudes especially, there is no place. We are going to get to the root of those attitudes immediately.
Snap comment, a quick comment that just goes,
Yeah, no, ma'am, we do not roll our eyes. You are going to go sit on the step immediately. Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes. I can't believe you would roll your eyes at your mother like that. She has been working hard all day trying to help you with school.
Again, reinforcing how what you just did is perceived and how it affects those that are around you.
It's hurting your mom.
Because it's not just, no, that's wrong, go sit in timeout, but you've got to give that.
You have to explain it. If punishment without explanation doesn't do any good.
Well, that's good.
You have to be able to explain. And here's the deal. A lot of times, especially with younger kids, parents will say, why did you do that? Sometimes they don't know. No, why is a very hard question for a kid to answer. It's at that age. They don't understand the cause and effect often. And so...
What age range are we talking?
And so I would say...
7 and under? 5 and under?
Yeah, probably like first grade and under.
Okay.
And not to say you can't ever, because we'll still ask them after we punish them, why
did
we punish?
But you've already given them the reason.
But we've already told them the reason.
Oh, wow.
Those younger kids, you sometimes have to explain that up front. They don't get it.
Wow, Willow, if you are watching this, Daddy is very sorry. Because I do that. I go, why did you just do that? And she goes, I don't know.
And
I'm like,
they don't
yes,
know.
you do.
They don't.
But the truth is, like, she's unaware of her intentions at that point.
It's really hard for them to comprehend why they did that. It was just, well, of course the cookies were there, so I was going to grab them. Why did you eat the cookies? Because they're there.
Yeah. I have caught myself and being like, that was such a dumb question, on accidents. Like, she knocks over her water, spills her. Why did you do that? That's a dumb question.
Yeah,
it's not like she did it on purpose.
Right.
And so I like that, though. And I like the fact that Kinsey and Creighton have different, different cues that you already know. But here's probably a question a lot of our listeners or parents are thinking of. How do I figure out my kid? Like, you get that you got a teddy bear and kind of a stone-hearted, but, the
only way to figure someone out is to spend time with them. You've got to be around your kid. And I know that can be difficult with some people with your job situations. If you've got a split custody thing and you don't have as much time with your kid, but the only way to know how to discipline them effectively is to be around them. If you're not spending time with your kid, you're not going to know their heart. You're not going to know the way they think. And you've got to spend that time to know, how are we going to correct this behavior?
Yeah. At what age do you feel like you really started getting a hold of what would get through to them?
Honestly, I think at a young age, even at 18 months to 2 years, you start to understand what's working. Is taking that toy away going to work, or do we need to do something different? Did the spanking work? Do we need to do something different? Did the sit down conversation work? Okay, none of those worked. We've got to come up with a new solution for that.
Okay, what about the parents that are saying, okay, this used to work and it doesn't work anymore? For example, hey, I used to spank my kid and about 7, 8 years old, just stop. Like, we talk about consistency, but if it's not working.
If it's not working, you got to do something different. Again, that goes, let's ramp it up. Let's dial, it's.
So how do you find out what that new thing is?
Well, you find out what's not working, and you figure the next step up.
It's like turning on the light switch, not that one, not that one. There it is.
Got it.
Okay.
Doctors do the same thing with medications. When the child's young, they may prescribe something, but as they get older, that medication is going to change. And they aren't going to prescribe the same medication to a 5-year-old as they are a 15-year-old.
So a spanking for a 5-year-old doesn't turn into a fist fight with a 13-year-old.
Absolutely.
Which is where we get into trouble, because you think, well, if a spanking used to work, but now I guess I have to spank harder. No. You've got to figure out what that next thing is.
That next step, that next level.
Which could be finding out what are they, like, for example, it really comes down to what do they enjoy and what do they love. Creighton loves snuggling at this point. So yeah, negative touch is going to be his reinforcement. But at some point that might not be a big deal to him. He might be completely into video games or sports or whatever that is. And is that when we start just pulling away from what they enjoy, what they like the most, we take away, or we use in a negative connotation to get that discipline we want?
Parents often, the only discipline they know is what they were trained.
Sure.
And often that doesn't mean just because your parents disciplined you a certain way or for certain things that was right.
Right.
So they're just continuing on generations of bad parenting. I think a lot of times we need to get creative in our discipline. I think one of my favorite things that I heard, Lindsay's sister one time had an attitude at 13, stomped up the steps, slammed the door. So what did her dad do? He took away the door. So literally for 2 weeks, she did not have a door. He was like, nope.
There's nothing to slam.
Nothing to slam. You can earn your door back. And so she had no privacy. She had all of that was gone. You've got to be creative and you've got to think through what is going to reach this kid. That worked for her. Why she wanted that privacy. What 13-year-old girl doesn't want that privacy? And he said, nope, if you slam your door, obviously we can't have doors around you.
I also think what you said just then is a lot of parents try to parent based on how they were parenting. Obvious. That makes so much sense. But I think that's
not just parenting either too. It's your marriage is going to be the way you saw your marriage, all of those things.
For sure. And for some people, and not pointing fingers at people that don't believe in spanking or anything like that, but they go so far the opposite way they parent because they feel like I wasn't parented well or my parents didn't do this well. I feel like, for example, if your parents believed in spankings, but man, they took it to a level that was abusive, that was aggressive, you might shy away from that altogether.
Absolutely.
Well, the truth is that can be effective if done properly.
In the loving, right, proper way.
For example, talk for a second to the parents that just do not believe in spanking. And I don't know, maybe we need to preface by saying, we're not telling you how to discipline. If you don't believe in spanking, don't. If you don't believe in whatever.
Honestly, I'm not here to, like you said, to promote spankings or this or that. What I am here to do is to promote discipline and
Absolutely.
to promote correction. Literally, it says in
creative correction.
Yes,
like
creative correction. Proverbs says, if you don't correct, you are stupid.
Wow.
So you've got to make sure that correction is taking place. And whatever that looks like, if you can't have that conversation, great. If taking away the toy, great. If taking away the Xbox, great. If taking away the door, and it's not just taking away things. It could be, hey, you're going to have to do your brother's chores.
Chores, yeah.
You're going to have to now. I want you. You were rude to someone over here, so I want you to write a letter to your grandmother, or you're going to go to your grandma's house and just spend some time with someone who is sweet and kind.
Wow.
Because you've been obviously hanging around the wrong people, so I'm not going to let you hang around your friends, and I want you to hang around the nicest, kindest person I know so that you'll become more like them.
That is really, really good.
Like, you got to start thinking outside of the box. And again, so many people, they think creativity is just painting and art. No. There's creativity in all different kinds of aspects. Be creative in the discipline that you do. And I guarantee you, they're going to remember creative discipline more than they're going to remember the 17,000 spanking that you gave them.
Oh yeah, no, I remember the soap in the mouth. I remember and also probably it's difficult for me to remember the spankings because there's so many. No, I remember having to write letters. I remember having to mow the lawn. I remember. And we had so many stinking trees, we never even tried to bag them. My dad's just like, all right, well, I guess this year we'll try to bag them. I'm like, we will? He's like, I'm sorry, you will. I'm like, oh, cool. So that impossible task that took 2 weeks and every day was harder. I mean, creativity, I think, is such an underused thing when it comes to discipline, especially because sometimes the first thing we try is going to work because our kid hasn't ever seen discipline. And so we just decide, well, if it worked when they were 2, let's just keep on working it. And us as parents, we have to be able to tap into that creativity. Adapt and change because we want that change in our child. We want their behavior to be right.
Absolutely. You know, something else that I want to jump on. A lot of times I'm walking in after work, it's 5:30 as I'm walking in the door, and that's usually around the time that the kids are going crazy.
Right, they woke up from naps.
There's so much energy that they have, and I walk in often to Lindsay disciplining one of the kids.
Sure.
If you ever walk in on your spouse or significant other, whatever, someone disciplining your child, you never want to jump in on that because you didn't see the situation. Even if you're like, whoa, like there's been times I've walked in, I'm like, wow, Linz, you are coming.
That was aggressive.
Harsh on the kids.
Come on,
Creighton
Linz.
literally just did one thing and you jumped all on top of him. I didn't see the 1,000+ things that happened before leading up to that moment.
Yeah.
So you never want to jump in and bypass someone else's correction. You want to let them finish. I can later on have a conversation. Linz, what happened? Like, it seemed like you were jumping aggressively on him. Oh, well, then she can fill me in on all the different things.
Sure.
But if in the moment I cut Lindsay's legs off, I've seen so many parents that literally they have different levels of, and this is so important, you have to be on the same level of what you're going to do for discipline.
Yeah.
If one parent's doing this and the other's doing this, if dad's easy and mom's harsh,
guess who they're going to get all their stuff?
every single time.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure you both are on the same page. And then when someone is disciplining, let them do their disciplining. Because if you try to stop it, you are literally ruining any chance for that kid to be normal.
On the offside, and I feel like this is going to be a challenge, but have you ever walked into the house and Lindsay goes, you need to go take care of Creighton? And you're sitting here as dad and I'm like, I don't know what they've done. Like, there's been times when Margie has been like, I'm going to let your dad take care of this. I'm like, I'm not even in the room. What happened here? And she's like, you need to go take care of it. But at the same time, I think she's being smart. When I look back at it, she's being smart. She's like, I'm not in the level right now where I'm going to be able to discipline well.
If I discipline, it'd be really rough.
Because I used to be like, no, I didn't see it. I don't know.
You do
like,
it.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
But the truth is, she's as far as the amount of time that is spent with it, she spends so much more time with our girls. So she disciplines them so much more that sometimes she's like, listen, I've had to deal with this 5 times today. It's going to get weird if I do this again. It's going to get scary. So maybe you should step in. And most of the time when I do there, now I do give her the side glance. I'm like, are we talking spanking? What are we doing here? And then most of the time, most of the time it's, I take the girl in the other room away from mom and we have a conversation and I'm saying, what's going on? Why is mom upset with you? Look at what you feel. And the same thing, you give the cause and effect, how you're acting right now. Mom is so frustrated right now that she can't even be in the same room as you. And they're like, oh, but I love mom. I'm like, well, you're not acting like it, you know? And so, but there is that subtle piece of me that when I walk in the door and she just kind of gives me a look like, you better be on because it's game time. And I'm like, I left this morning, they both gave me kisses and I come home and I'm supposed to spank them? Like, what is going on now?
Well, and I think, we especially want to protect that relationship with our spouse.
Yeah.
And we want to show our kids that we're on the same page. We are a team. And so when I see the times I'm most going to react quickly,
oh, come on,
is when they start going at my wife.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And when they, in fact, you have a story of a time that I think it was Willow, you said smarted off or something.
Oh dude, I went crazy. Like she said something to Margie, I can't remember what it was. She did an eye roll and a sass and Margie was like kind of over it, but she was kind of like, oh, like I'd seen, like I could tell by her reaction that was not the first time that Willow had that day. And I just went off and I was like, Willow, you will never talk to your mom like that before. And like, she was just like, what just happened? I'm like, because that's honestly what I'd seen in my dad. The most that I'd ever seen my dad get mad was when I disrespected my mom. And he was like, listen, you can knock over the chair, you can break a lamp, you can do whatever you want. When we start attacking family or my brother, of course, I have an older brother. We get to the point, I just scream, I hate you, walking out of the room. You want to talk about somebody getting close to death? He goes, what'd you just say to your brother? And I'm like, I have you. I said, I have you for next. No. He's like, we do not say that. And that's where the moments he wants to make sure, yeah, you're going to make mistakes. Yeah, you're not going to understand how to act at all times. But if there's not a level of love and respect for the people that are around you the most, that put the most into you, that's where the line is drawn so stinking clear. That's what I wanted to do for Willow that day. I was like, do you know how much mommy loves you? And what you just told her was that you don't love her. Oh, I didn't say that. You didn't say that. But with your actions, your eye roll, that's what you meant. And she was like, she just goes running to the other room, big tears, hugs Margie. And for Margie, she was just like, thank you. And we got some cuddles that night. So, I mean, it was good for everybody.
Too, if you lived in that intense mode all the time,
sure.
When you go intense, it's not going to have an impact. You're not living constantly in that, what are you doing kind. So the times that you do go intense, they're going to remember. That's going to be impactful for them.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you said initially. It's about how much time you're spending with them. Because if you're spending a lot of time with your kids and you're actually intentional about spending time with them, you don't catch them after they've done something wrong. You catch them in the preparation of doing something wrong. And so you get to cut it off when the tower is being built over little sister right before they get to push it down. You go, hey, what are we doing here? Oh, I'm building a tower that I'm going to push it on Waverly. All right, those are bricks. Maybe we shouldn't, like actual bricks, not even Legos. Those are actual, let's not do that. Instead of me just sitting on the couch watching TV and then I hear, ah! So it's that intentionality of just being there because, as we wrap this up, I think the heart of every parent is just that thing. We just want to change behavior. We sense something in you and we love you enough. It's kind of like what we talk about at Christ Church. God loves me just as I am, but he loves me so much. He doesn't want me to stay just as I am. And as parents, I look at my kids, man, I love them so much. I'd do anything in the world for them. Anything literally means I will also do the things I don't want to do to make sure that you become the person God wants you to be. And I see so much good in them, see so much potential in them, which I'm constantly striving to see, that I want to draw that out. And those rough edges, those moments where they disappoint, those moments where they do something I feel like inside I'm like, you should know better. All I want to do is rub that out.
Hebrews, it says, no discipline is pleasant at the moment, but later on it produces a harvest.
Right.
And I love that. Discipline, it's not fun in that moment, but we're doing it for the long-term effect. We want to see that harvest in our kids.
So good, man. Well, hey, this is probably going to wrap up the second episode of this topic, but I will invite you, man, if you've connected with this or you've got questions, follow up. What we want to do in some of our later episodes is be able to follow up with some of your questions, your concerns, your testimonies, your stories of how what we've said today has affected you. I want to once again thanks Jeremy for being here, man.
No problem.
It was a good first episode, and hopefully we can put out some more in a couple of weeks. So God bless you guys. Continue to be the movement that transforms your city one life at a time.
Thanks for joining us today here at the Movement Podcast. Once again, if you enjoyed the conversation, keep it going by dropping a comment or hitting the thumbs up button. If you have any ideas for future episodes, feel free to let us know. In order to know when our next episode comes out, please hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell so you can get notified when we put out future episodes. Thanks again for being part of the movement.